running out of strength. Psalm 121 reveals where your help truly comes from. There comes a moment when the weight you have been carrying presses against your chest with a quiet, relentless ache. You wake with a heaviness you cannot name, move through the day with a tiredness that does not fade, and somewhere inside you rises a silent question that feels almost dangerous to speak. Where will my help come from now? This is the moment when the heart trembles, not because of what lies ahead, but because your own strength no longer feels enough to hold you steady. It is the moment when you look at the path before you and feel the ground shifting under your feet, uncertain if you can take one more step. Psalm 121 begins exactly in this kind of place. It starts with a raised glance, a searching look toward the hills, a quiet reaching for something beyond the exhaustion you know too well. That simple movement of the eyes carries a longing that every weary soul understands. When your strength is draining and your courage feels fractured, your heart instinctively lifts its gaze, hoping for a presence that does not falter. This psalm does not speak to the strong. It speaks to the one who is struggling to remain upright, the one who needs assurance that the journey is not carried alone. As these words unfold, you will discover a promise that does not shift with emotion or circumstance. You will hear a voice that watches over every step, a help that does not sleep, a care that does not loosen its grip when life becomes overwhelming. This chapter invites you to enter this space with honesty, to acknowledge the exhaustion you rarely speak aloud, and to open your heart to the possibility that real help is closer than you imagine. Before we move forward, let this question echo gently within you. What if the help you need has already begun to reach for you? There are seasons when the soul feels worn thin, stretched between what you are carrying and what you can no longer manage. You move through your responsibilities with quiet determination, yet inside there is a fatigue that settles deeper each day. You may find yourself lying awake at night, staring into the dark, wondering why the strength that once came naturally now feels distant. There is a heaviness that clings to you, not always visible to others, but undeniable to your own heart. It shows up in moments when you hesitate before getting out of bed, when you feel overwhelmed by simple decisions, or when the smallest setback leaves you questioning your resilience. This struggle is more than physical exhaustion. It touches the thoughts that spiral without rest, the emotions that shift unpredictably, and the quiet fears that whisper about the future. You might feel tension tightening in your chest, a weight pressing behind your eyes, or a dull sense of discouragement that shadows every step. It is the strain of trying to appear strong while inside you feel as though you are unraveling. And even in your prayers, there may be times when the words feel thin, echoing off the walls of a tired heart. There is also the quiet guilt that follows you, the sense that you should be handling things better. You may look around and believe others seem more capable, more composed, more resilient, yet your inner world tells a different story. You feel the burden of unfinished responsibilities, the pressure to remain composed for those who depend on you, and the fear that if you stop for even a moment, everything around you might collapse. This internal conflict creates a loneliness that is difficult to name, a sense that no one truly sees the battle you face within. In this struggle, it can feel as though your prayers rise slowly, weighed down by uncertainty. You may wonder if God hears you in the chaos, if He notices the quiet tears, the trembling moments behind closed doors, the times when hope flickers like a candle fighting the wind. Doubt slips in, not as rebellion, but as fatigue, shaping thoughts like a soft, persistent erosion. You ask yourself if help will come in time, if strength will ever return, if you will ever walk with confidence again. Yet, even within this deep weariness, there is a longing that refuses to disappear. It is the hope that somewhere beyond your tiredness, there is a source of strength that does not run out. It is the instinctive desire to be steadied, to be held, to be guided through what feels too heavy to bear. The human heart, even in struggle, reaches for meaning, for reassurance, for a reminder that it is not alone. This chapter invites you to acknowledge your struggle with honesty and without shame. Your fatigue is not a failure. Your weakness is not a flaw. The very fact that you continue moving forward, even slowly, reveals a courage deeper than you realize. And the place where you feel weakest may be the very place where God's presence becomes most tender and most near. As you recognize the depth of what you are facing, let a quiet question form within you. What if this moment of weakness is not the end of your strength, but the beginning of discovering where true help comes from? Psalm 121 was born in the heart of a journey. It was sung by travelers who walked long, exhausting roads toward Jerusalem, paths filled with steep climbs, uncertain weather, and real danger. These pilgrims carried not only physical burdens, but the weight of their inner lives, much like you carry your own silent struggles today. Their songs were not recited in comfort. They rose from tired feet, aching bodies, and hearts that needed reassurance with every step. This psalm was a companion for those who could not afford to lose strength along the way. The road to Jerusalem was surrounded by hills, and those hills created more than a landscape. They stood as reminders of both threat and hope. Hidden dangers could be found in the shadows, yet the pilgrim's gaze lifted upward because those same heights symbolized the place where God's presence dwelled. Looking to the hills was not an act of desperation. It was a declaration of longing for the God who watched over his people as they moved through uncertain terrain. Every step they took was a step into vulnerability, yet every step was also an invitation to trust the one who guided them. Psalm 121 belongs to a collection known as the Songs of Ascent, a group of hymns designed to help the pilgrim remember who walked beside them. These songs were more than words. They were spiritual anchors, reminders that God did not remain distant while his people struggled along narrow paths. He was near, attentive, and active. The words of this psalm were repeated slowly, not to inform the mind, but to steady the heart. They were sung with the rhythm of footsteps, turning every mile into a prayer and every breath into an act of trust. Understanding this setting helps the psalm come alive in a deeper way. The pilgrim's world mirrors your own. You walk through seasons with risks you cannot predict and weight you cannot always carry. You face hills that feel too steep, shadows that threaten your peace, and stretches of road where you wonder if you will make it through. The emotional and spiritual terrain of your journey is no less real than the path those ancient travelers walked. Their song becomes your song because their need mirrors your need. In this psalm, the pilgrim lifts their eyes not to escape reality, but to connect with the God who remains faithful in every valley and on every mountain. The words rise from a place of deep dependence. They remind us that God is not an observer watching from a distance. He is the keeper who protects, guides, and sustains. The pilgrim's confidence does not come from the path being easy. It comes from knowing they are never unseen, never unguarded, and never abandoned along the way. As you listen to this psalm with fresh understanding, let yourself step into that ancient journey. Feel the tiredness of the traveler, sense the uncertainty of the road, and notice how the simple act of lifting the eyes becomes a doorway to divine strength. Something profound happens when a weary heart looks upward. This context prepares you to receive the psalm not as an old song, but as a living promise shaped for your own steps. Before we move to the heart of the psalm, let this question rest gently within you. If God walked with the pilgrims through every danger of their journey, what might he be doing in the quiet struggles of yours? Psalm 121 opens with a simple yet piercing declaration of need. The pilgrim lifts their eyes toward the hills and asks where their help will come from. This question rises from a heart aware of its limits, a heart that knows it cannot walk the journey alone. Yet the answer arrives with quiet certainty. Help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. These words are not merely comforting, they are grounding. They remind the weary soul that the source of strength is not uncertain, fragile, or distant. It flows from the one who shaped all creation, the one whose power does not fade, whose attention does not wander, and whose care does not fail. The psalm continues by revealing a God who does not sleep or drift into distraction. In a world where even the strongest companions can grow tired, God is portrayed as the keeper who never closes his eyes. This image is deeply personal. It tells you that when exhaustion pushes you into restless sleep, when worry steals your peace, or when silence surrounds you, God remains fully awake, fully present, and fully attentive to your steps. Your fears do not surprise him. Your vulnerabilities do not overwhelm him. He watches with a steadiness that no human guardian could ever replicate. The promise that he will not let your foot slip speaks to more than physical stability. It reaches into the places where your faith feels unsteady, where your decisions feel fragile, and where your emotions shift like loose stones beneath your feet. God's care does not remove every challenge, but it holds you steady through them. This is the heart of the psalm. You do not walk alone, and the ground beneath you is more secure than it appears. The keeper of your life goes with you into every terrain, anchoring your steps even when you cannot see the path clearly. The psalm also declares that the Lord is your shade at your right hand, a gentle image of protection. Shade is not dramatic or loud. It is quiet, consistent, and deeply comforting. It symbolizes relief in the heat of the journey, a covering from what burns, a shelter from what drains your strength. This image reminds you that God's care often comes in subtle forms. It may arrive as a moment of calm in the middle of chaos, a word that steadies your heart, a breath that eases your mind. His protection surrounds you in ways you may not always recognize, yet it shapes your every step. As the psalm moves toward its final assurance, the language becomes even more intimate. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in, both now and forever. These words stretch across your entire life, covering every moment you move through the world and every moment you return home carrying the weight of the day. Nothing in your journey falls outside God's care. Every path, every decision, every valley, and every hill is held within his faithful presence. This promise is not temporary. It is enduring, echoing into the deepest corners of your story. The central message of Psalm 121 is a gentle yet powerful truth. Your help comes from a God who does not change, who does not tire, and who does not lose sight of you. He does not abandon you to navigate life alone. He walks beside you, guards you, and sustains you with a love that remains steady even in the hardest seasons. This psalm invites you to breathe again, to trust again, and to remember that the strength you long for does not come from within your limited resources, but from a source far greater. As this message settles into your heart, let one reflection rise within you. If God's help is this constant, this attentive, and this faithful, what might change in the way you face the challenges before you? There are moments when the promises of Scripture feel beautiful in theory, yet distant in practice. You hear that God is your keeper, your shade, your steady help, but when the pressures of daily life surround you, it can be difficult to translate those truths into the world you actually live in. Psalm 121 becomes transformative, not when it is admired from a distance, but when it is allowed to breathe into the real places where your heart grows weary. This chapter invites you to bring the message of the psalm into your daily rhythms, so its promises become lived realities rather than poetic reminders. When the psalm begins with the lifting of the eyes, it speaks to a simple but profound practice that can reshape your inner life. In moments of overwhelm, your attention often collapses inward, circling around what feels heavy or uncertain. Lifting your eyes is not a denial of the struggle, it is a gentle reorientation of the heart. You can practice this by pausing throughout the day, taking one slow breath, and quietly directing your awareness toward God. This shift may seem small, but it interrupts patterns of anxious thinking and opens a space where peace can enter. It becomes an invitation for God to meet you in the very moment you feel least capable. Asking for help is another spiritual practice rooted deeply in this psalm. Many people move through life believing they must hold everything together on their own. This creates a constant pressure that slowly drains strength. Psalm 121 reminds you that help is not a last resort. It is a gift freely given by a God who watches your steps with love. You can bring this truth into your life by offering short, honest prayers throughout the day. These prayers do not need to be poetic or polished. Even a simple request spoken from a place of vulnerability carries spiritual weight. Saying quietly, "Help me with this moment," or "Give me clarity right now," can open your heart to the one who never withdraws his care. The image of God as your shade invites you to recognize the small, subtle ways his presence protects you. You may experience this as a moment of calm during a stressful situation, an unexpected kindness from someone, or the strength to accomplish something you did not think you could. By becoming attentive to these quiet expressions of grace, you train your heart to notice God's movement in your daily life. One way to practice this is by reflecting at the end of the day on where you felt supported, guided, or comforted. Naming these moments strengthens your awareness of his watchful care and deepens your trust that he truly walks with you. The promise that he will not let your foot slip speaks to the many decisions, uncertainties, and emotional terrains you navigate. You may face situations where you feel unsure of the next step or worried about making the wrong choice. Bringing this verse into your daily life means surrendering the need to control every outcome and trusting that God steadies you. Even in moments when you feel insecure, you can practice this by pausing before decisions, offering a short prayer for wisdom, and then moving forward with the confidence that you are not walking alone. This does not guarantee that everything will unfold easily, but it anchors your steps in faith rather than fear. Finally, the assurance that God keeps your going out and your coming in speaks to the rhythm of your entire life. Every transition, every new responsibility, every ending and beginning is held within his care. You may bring this truth into your daily experience by remembering that no part of your journey falls outside God's attention. Whether you are stepping into a challenging day or returning home feeling worn down, his presence covers your movements with unwavering faithfulness. This awareness brings a deep sense of grounding, helping you face each moment with a steadier heart. As you open your life to the message of Psalm 121, allow the question to settle gently within you. If these promises are true in every step you take, how might your days begin to feel different, lighter, more hopeful, and more secure? The human mind often grows tired long before the body does. When worry circles endlessly, when fear tightens in the chest, or when exhaustion makes even simple tasks feel overwhelming, your inner world begins to tilt in ways you can't always control. Psalm 121 speaks directly to this fragile space, and modern understandings of emotional well-being can gently illuminate its wisdom without replacing it. They help us see how the truths of this psalm reach deeply into the patterns of thought and feeling that shape your daily life. When the psalm invites you to lift your eyes, it quietly mirrors what many psychologists call attention redirection. In moments of stress, your focus instinctively narrows to the problem in front of you, amplifying your sense of threat. Your mind becomes flooded with what could go wrong, leaving you feeling trapped in your own thoughts. Turning your attention upward, even for a brief moment, interrupts that spiral. It offers a pause where your breathing can slow, your thoughts can settle, and your heart can remember that the situation is not the ultimate authority over your life. This simple shift encourages emotional regulation, grounding you in something steadier than the moment you are facing. The psalm also describes a God who never sleeps, who watches over every step. This speaks to a deep psychological need for security, a sense that you are not alone in navigating life. When a person feels supported, even internally, the nervous system responds with greater calm. Anxiety loosens its grip, decision-making becomes clearer, and emotional resilience grows. Knowing that God is attentive does not remove every struggle, but it strengthens the inner foundation you stand on. It quiets the part of the mind that expects danger at every turn and allows you to breathe with greater trust. The image of God as your shade touches another emotional reality, the importance of finding relief when life feels overwhelming. In psychological terms, we often need moments of safe retreat, spaces where our minds and bodies can rest from constant demands. God's protective presence offers this kind of internal refuge. It reminds you that you do not need to be alert and strong at every moment. There is a place where your heart can exhale, where the heat of pressure softens and you are gently held. Recognizing this can reduce emotional overload and restore a sense of inner balance. Perhaps one of the most healing insights from this psalm is the assurance that your steps are being kept. When life feels uncertain, the mind often tries to predict every possible outcome, attempting to control what cannot be controlled. This mental effort is exhausting and often leads to deeper fear. Trusting that God steadies your path allows your thoughts to rest. It opens space for clarity, for patience, and for confidence that you do not have to navigate everything alone. Emotional strength grows not by avoiding uncertainty, but by knowing you are supported within it. Psalm 121's message becomes even more powerful when seen through this lens. It meets both the spiritual and emotional needs of the heart. It steadies the mind that feels overwhelmed, comforts the body that carries tension, and brings peace to the soul longing for rest. As you consider this, let the question rise gently within you. What might change inside you if your mind learned to rest in the same God your heart longs to trust? Transformation rarely begins with dramatic change. It starts quietly, in the hidden places of the heart, where the truths of Psalm 121 begin to reshape how you see yourself, your challenges, and the God who walks with you. As the message of this psalm settles within you, it gently shifts the weight you carry. You no longer move through life, believing that every burden rests solely on your shoulders. You begin to sense that you are held by a presence stronger than your weakness, steadier than your doubts, and closer than your fears. This awareness becomes the soil where inner healing takes root. One of the first signs of transformation is a renewed ability to breathe in the midst of uncertainty. The pressure that once rushed at you now meets a quieter heart, not because the circumstances have changed, but because you have. Trust begins to anchor your thoughts, creating space where anxiety once dominated. You find yourself responding with calm where panic used to rise. This shift is subtle yet powerful, revealing that the promise of God's constant care is becoming a lived reality for you. As this trust deepens, your perspective begins to change. You start seeing your struggles not as signs of failure, but as places where God's presence becomes more tangible. Moments of weakness turn into invitations to depend more fully on His strength. Decisions that once filled you with fear become opportunities to walk in faith. Even the long, silent seasons take on new meaning, teaching you patience and shaping resilience within you. You begin to recognize that transformation is not about escaping difficulty, but about discovering who stands with you in the midst of it. Another sign of transformation is the way your prayers evolve. They become simpler, more honest, and more intimate. Instead of striving to say the right words, you begin to speak from the heart. You share your fears with greater vulnerability and your gratitude with deeper sincerity. Your prayers become a place of rest rather than obligation. This intimacy with God nurtures a steady confidence that grows quietly within you, strengthening you for whatever comes next. You may also notice yourself becoming more present, rather than being consumed by what might happen tomorrow or what went wrong yesterday. You learn to inhabit the moment you are in. This presence is not passive, it is attentive, grounded in the assurance that God keeps your going out and your coming in. You start to feel a gentle steadiness beneath your steps, a sense that you are moving through life supported by a love that does not waver. As this transformation unfolds, you begin to recognize the subtle yet profound changes within you. Hope rises more easily, peace stays with you longer, strength returns in unexpected ways. You walk with a renewed certainty that, even when you cannot see the full path ahead, you are not walking alone. The keeper of your life is guiding you, holding you, and shaping you with every step. As this chapter comes to a close, let one question linger softly in your heart. If God is transforming you from within, what new strength might be waiting to emerge in your journey ahead? Holy God, keeper of every step and guardian of every breath, I bring before you the heart of the one listening now. You see the weight they carry, the questions they wrestle with, and the quiet places where their strength has grown thin. Draw near to them with the tenderness that defines your presence. Wrap them in a peace that steadies their thoughts and softens the burdens pressing against their spirit. Let them feel the certainty that you are watching over them with unwavering care. Breathe strength into the spaces where they feel fragile. Renew their courage in the moments where their hope flickers. Let your protection be their covering, your guidance be their compass, and your love be the foundation beneath every step they take. Remind them that they are never unseen, never abandoned, and never left to walk alone. May the truth of Psalm 121 rise within them as a steady anchor, shaping their days with confidence and trust. Keep their going out and their coming in. Let each new morning meet them with fresh mercy, and each night cover them with your calming presence. Shape their journey with your wisdom, and let their heart rest fully in the knowledge that you are their help in every season. Strengthen them with the assurance that your watching never sleeps, and your faithfulness will carry them through every valley and every hill they face. If this message touched your heart, I invite you to share in the comments one verse, one word, or one moment that spoke to you. Your story may bring comfort to someone who is struggling today. And if you wish to walk deeper into reflections like this, consider subscribing so we can continue this journey of faith together. Your presence here matters, and I hope we meet again in the next video.